there, my sweet friends. Welcome back to my channel and happy Monday to everyone. I hope you are all doing well. I'm very excited to begin working on the layouts for our October Stories album. And so today we're going to work through stories 1 through 3, and I'm so excited to share those with you. I did mention in my previous video that I was not going to pick up any additional new supplies for this project, but then I remembered that I did get this set of sticker numbers from Amazon. So I really thought that these would be a great addition, having a couple of details work through the book for each of the layouts for a more consistent look. And so I think these were meant to go on mailboxes or something like that, but they number 1 through 50. And so I'm just peeling those stickers off, adding them to scrap cardstock, and then cutting them out to the size that will work for my layout. I think they are going to be a great addition if you're interested in those. I will link them in the description below. And so I'm excited to get started on our layouts. If that sounds good to you, then stick around and we'll make them together. Well, guys, I did a thing. I decided that I did not like the covers that I created for these albums, and so I really wanted to use that beautiful pattern paper, but it's just too large, and I do struggle with bigger patterns. Let me know in the comments if you do as well. I just didn't love it, and so I decided to swap it out, and I just picked this very simple buffalo plaid. The scale is much smaller, and so you don't lose that pattern over a smaller space. And so I did go ahead, I just took the elastic out and put those new patterns in and re-elasticed them. Elastic, that's a word. And so I'll just go ahead and remove these from the camera because they are very shiny and probably difficult to look at. And we'll be working on stories 1 through 3 today. So I'll just go ahead and pull out that first insert with the cover page, and we'll start adding our layout. Realize this pattern, it is black, even though it's floral. But I just wanted to have my layouts coordinate, and so I'm going to use this beautiful pattern from Simple Stories. This was part of the Fabulous collection, and I did go ahead and cut these to size, and then I also rounded the corners so they will be easy to add. You can see now I've got this little bit of a gap, and that is intentional. I learned from my previous album that it does get really bulky and thick in the center there. Even though I have fewer pages, I do want to avoid having that happen again. And so I'm going to add a layering pattern here. And for the pages going forward, I will just go ahead and add these patterns before I begin the layout. That'll make it a little bit faster because you can tell how these come together. And so I've got another piece of that sweet Simple Stories paper. Don't necessarily associate hearts with Halloween, but I think this will be really fun. So this is also going to get a doily. I have utilized the same doily for both of these pages. So what I want to do is kind of position this in between those layers because I don't have enough to completely fill the amount of space that I need. And so I'm going to bury that cut edge in this section where I add my layering pattern. That way you won't be able to tell that I'm utilizing the same doily for both pages. So here's the focal image, and this is one of the cut aparts from the Cartabella collection. I just cut it out again with a stitched edge detail. So the last detail for the side is just going to be a small flower arrangement, and I made these with some offcuts from my stash. And then I did go ahead and arrange these in a curve so that I could work around that image there, and that's going to complete the right hand side. The picture for this layout is actually a beautiful flower from Tech Hubby's Wildflower Garden. He plants that every year for the bees and butterflies, and we also get dragonflies and hummingbirds. We do have hummingbird feeders as well, but they enjoy those fresh blooms. So I thought if there was ever a flower that would be Halloween inspired, it would be this one. And so I'm going to add that to this side of the page Before I do that though, I do need to add a couple of items for this to be layered on top. I want to position this right along the bottom of the picture. Then I'm also going to add a large star here, just so that I get these in the position that I want. Then I'll add them to this doily. You see now I got that covering all of those cut edges. And I can put this down as one single unit. For this picture, I kind of want to cover up the blue in the sky. So I took an additional tag from the Simple Stories collection and I just cut off the top there so that I could utilize that fun pattern. And I'm going to just line that up along the border of my picture. And you see that kind of helps to cover up that background. So I'll put an additional star here as well, just for a little balance. And then last but not least, I have a couple of these little word strips. And so I'm just going to add them to the bottom. And that is going to do it for story 1. For story number 2, I'm starting with this plaid. Now, I found this pattern in the paper pad that I picked up for 12 Days of Christmas in July series. So that is important to look in places that you might not expect to find the perfect pattern for your project, because I think this works really well and it does get me an extra amount of use out of that Christmas holiday paper pad. And so I'm just going to start with this sentiment now. I am really leaning into my sticker sheets from all of those collections, and I'm going to add them as layering bits or as sticker clusters to create focal images. And so I think that will be a perfect way to get use out of those. This picture for me signifies the beginning of the holiday season here for Halloween. Whenever the stores start putting out their displays of pumpkins, I know it is right around the corner. And so I have printed this with my Canon selfie printer. I will say, first of all, I'm not the most technology savvy person, but I had to reconnect the printer to my new phone, and for some reason it is not printing in the same sizes that it used to. I'm sure the tech hubby can troubleshoot that for me later, but I kind of actually like this size, so I'm not sure if I'm going to ask him to do that right away, because I do get a little bit of extra pattern showing from my background. So here's another sticker from a different collection. Now I am putting these on a background of white cardstock and cutting them back out because I know I have a lot of layers here and I don't want there to be lumps showing where these kind of overlap each other. So I will continue to do that for all of these stickers that I use. Now I'm going to work in a fussy cut image from the P13 collection. I had all of those pages left over, and so I plan to utilize those as handmade ephemera. So I've got that cute little ghost, and then I'll bring my number in here and add this. This kind of anchors the arrangement here, and I'm using a couple of different places for that black just for balance. And then I do have another one of those stars, so I'll just tuck that into here, and we'll call the left hand page done. For the right hand side, I'm using one of the cutter parts from the Fabulous collection and a sticker sheet. I don't actually remember which collection this is from, but I did want to have that banner showing at the top. So I flipped that card around so that I can bury the sentiment that was already on here underneath the layers. And so I'll just add this to this corner. It's kind of nice to work with plaids because it's easier to get things on straight. So I can get that positioned right where I want. And then I did make another cluster of those hand cut ephemera pieces. I used the images from that P13 collection just to make kind of a focal image. And then I did tuck in a couple of my stars so that I could have that working consistently throughout. And I'm just going to position this right along the bottom here. And that will be all for story 2. I'm starting story number 3 with that Monster Mash collection. That was my wild card for this series, and I have enjoyed working with it so much more than I expected to. And so I have just a stripe running across, and then I did layer on top of that some of the pattern from my Joann's paper pad, and I've also included a small strip of gold glitter paper just to keep a little bit of those busy patterns separate. The picture I have for this layout is the football game we watched while we were camping. And so we are Lions fans, and it was so much fun to have that to watch while we were out at the campground. So I do have that picture here, and I'm going to start layering on the images to complete the layout. So I've got a couple of stickers here. I want to layer those up as a cluster so that I can include them as one single piece. And I know all of those elements are going to fall exactly right where I want them. So I'm starting with my number, and then I'm adding a star sticker behind that. And then I'm also going to layer this larger jack-o'-lantern here in the back. And I'm just going to work to cover the blanket here. It was very chilly while we were camping, and so that is one of the elements I would like to not have featured in my layout. I'm keeping the 3 square to the page, and then everything else will fall where it lands. So consider covering up a little bit of that doorway. So I'm going to add one of the banner strips from the sticker sheet, another star, and then a sentiment strip for this side as well. And that is the left-hand page. For the right-hand side, I decided that I did want to kind of brighten this layout up a little bit because of the dark background in the picture. So I'm just going to add a doily here. And then I have one of the images from that Monster Mash collection, and this was part of one of the 4x4 cut-aparts. I just clipped out the sentiment in the center so that it would fit a little better. And then I've also cut a couple of the banner shapes from the sticker sheet. And so I'm just going to layer those up. And then I'll add them to the bottom of my image here before I adhere it to the page. So this can go here. Then I've got a star for this corner, being careful not to cover up the sentiment there. And then because I have pumpkins on this page, I decided to bring those to this corner as well. So here is the little star I'm going to add behind the sticker, and then position this just in the corner. So that's it for the layout for story 3. Now I do plan to come back through and find areas where I can add some additional details like stickles or maybe some sequins. So that will be coming in a future video. But for now, this is going to be all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video and plan to join me again next Monday for our October Stories album. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video and give me a big thumbs up. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe and join my crafty little family. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye!